Okay, I call our meeting to order for Tuesday, March 20th. This is the regular Board of Selectmen meeting at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are here tonight. Seems like we just met the other day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does seem like that.
That's because we did, Thursday. So, on to public announcements. Open burning season will run until April 30th. Permits will be available at Fire Headquarters, 505 Liberty Street, daily from 9 to 5. The cost of a permit is $20 payable by check or money order made out to the town of Hanson. No cash will be accepted. Nomination papers for the May 19th town election are available at Hanson Town Clerk's office. No one has taken out papers for the Cemetery Commission, 3 years, the Planning Board, 5 years. March 29th is the last day for takeout papers. Nomination papers must be returned to the town clerk by 5 p.m. on April 3rd. For more information, contact the town clerk at 781-293-2772. All voters and residents who have not returned their 2018 census form are urged to do so by the town clerk. Any voter that has not returned their 2018 town census form will be placed on the inactive voter list for future elections. Dollars for Scholars, hosting 5th annual Bowling for Dollars for Scholars on Saturday, March 24th and Sunday, March 25th from noon to 4 p.m. at the Hanson Bowlodrome, adjacent to the Hanson AA, at 171 Reed Street in Hanson. For every string bowled during the event, a donation will be made to benefit Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars. The cost to bowl will be $5 per string, bless you,
Excuse me, thank you.
with no charge for shoe rental. Door prizes and complimentary food will be available throughout the two-day event. All funds raised during the event will benefit the class of 2018 in the form of scholarships. The event is being hosted by Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars. For more information, please contact Michael Ganchert at 781-252-9683 or visit www.whitmanandhanson.dollarsforscholars.org. The Treasurer Collector's Office will be closed on Friday, March 30th. Please plan your business accordingly. Isn't that Good Friday?
Yes.
Aren't all offices closed?
Yep.
Really? I thought they were, okay. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: 200th Anniversary, Agricultural, Capital Improvement, Community Preservation Commission, Disabilities, Economic Development Committee, Elder Affairs, Energy, Finance, McQuon Reuse Committee, Memorial Day Patriot Observance, Nathaniel Thomas Mill Committees, North River Commission, Recreation Commission, and School Repair Committee. Applications for appointment and information on the committee is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov. We have upcoming meetings. The Selectmen will hold their meetings on Tuesday, April 3rd, Tuesday, April 10th, and Tuesday, April 17th. The Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee will hold its meeting on Wednesday, March 21st at 4 p.m. The School Repair Committee will hold Thursday, March 29th at 7 p.m. 200th Anniversary Committee will hold Thursday, March 29th at 7 p.m. And finally, Nathaniel Thomas Mill will hold their meeting April 12th, which is a Thursday, at 7 p.m. And that concludes our announcement. And I should say, for the record, that we are being broadcast live through the Whitman Hanson Cable Access Channel. Laura, did you want to quickly just talk about the how St. Patrick's Day went, or no?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, the Hanson Business Network had the St. Patrick's Day event to fundraise for the Hanson Food Pantry, and as usual, the town of Hanson was extremely supportive. We're very lucky to be in this town. We raised quite a bit of money, and a good time was had by all. So we thank everybody involved, all the businesses, the people that attended, the staff up at Camp Kawani who did an amazing job setting it up, everybody that helped. We had a bunch of volunteers, people made desserts. It was just a really fantastic community event.
That's terrific.
Yeah, so-
And again, that money went to the Hanson Food Pantry.
Yep.
Right, all proceeds.
Yep.
So, thank you for help running that with Josh, right, Josh Singer and the
Yep.
Hanson Business Network. Okay, so we have with us tonight I have Mr. Tom Hickey. Tom, are you going to be speaking? On the South Shore VOTEC discussion regarding the amendment to the regional agreement. And with you is Chris Amico, right, Chris? Did you want to come up and just briefly talk?
Thank you.
You guys should have an outline on the changes as well under item 1 on our iPad.
Yes.
And you gave us hard copies? Donnie's going to love you for that.
That's two of
Thank
us.
you.
I like hard copy too. Thanks, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thanks for putting us on the agenda for tonight. A little bit of background regarding our regional agreement. So our school was chartered in 1960, and the only time that the district has made amendments to our agreement was in 1982 and 83 when Whitman and Hanson joined the district. And it didn't involve any elimination of original language. It was adding in language for the terms of Whitman and Hanson coming in into the district. So we were fortunate to get a regionalization and efficiency grant from the state last year. And we used those funds to hire some consultants to assist us with the process of reviewing the regional agreement. We were also exploring the potential for another town to join the district. So this is the fruits of that labor. Chris Amico, our vice chairman of our school committee and Hanson's rep, sat on the subcommittee that reviewed this document. So what I have for you in hard copy is an overview of the changes by section, the most substantive changes, a clean copy of what a revised version would be, and then a strike-through version where anything stricken in blue would go, anything that's new would be in red. With 8 towns in our district, this version of the amended agreement, which has been vetted through the Department of Education's legal department, is going to be presented at the respective town meetings this spring. Whitman had this as an article on their special town meeting warrant back in December.
Okay.
So I'm happy to say that while it was a lot of work, ultimately we have I think a leaner, meaner agreement here that cuts out language that is no longer relevant. And I'll just stick to the one-page overview. Feel free to interrupt me at any point if you'd like to ask a question. The preamble and section 1 on the first page, we basically are 35 years after the fact memorializing Whitman and Hanson in the district. We can now put them in the preamble with everybody else. As I said, we haven't touched this agreement since the mid-'80s. In sections 1 and 4, we remove considerable amounts of obsolete language that dealt with the initial school committee, the initial budget. This is 1960, 1961. We made a few statements in there that are probably obvious, and we made as many statutory references as we could. So, for instance, if there's ever a conflict between the agreement and state law would prevail. We added that provision in section 1. We also said in section 2 that in our current agreement it says that the school will be located in Hanover, but there's no reason it should be limited to Hanover. So we put in a provision that said sometime in the future, if the school needed to be located elsewhere, it could be anywhere within the South Shore Regional School District.
That's not to suggest that immediately you're thinking about relocating. It just gives you agility.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, no plans.
And of course, it's
no for
within,
sale signs.
within one of those towns in the district.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Precisely. In section 5, there's some extended language that we got from the Department of Education that, again, because this agreement hadn't been touched in a while, we needed to make reference to the Chapter 70 statutory method of funding schools. It's been that way since forever, so we've memorialized that in section 5. Also in section 5, we wanted the agreement to match the level of detail that we provide the towns with regard to assessments. So the current agreement, if you read our current agreement, it talks about capital and operating costs. And when it talks about capital, it also talks about debt in the same section. Very confusing, would take multiple reads. So we teased out capital and debt, put debt in a separate section, but we spell out very clearly that there are operating costs, transportation costs, capital, and debt. And so there's a rhythm to the document of defining what the cost is and then explaining how that portion of the assessment is calculated. So you'd find those changes in section 5. And wherever we talk about using years, we wanted to clarify fiscal year versus calendar year.
Good.
And we use that when we're calculating capital and debt, so we spell out fiscal year where appropriate.
I liked how you guys put the formula illustration.
Yes, I think
Pretty
that's,
great.
I think
It's
that's very
simple,
helpful.
Yeah,
I think that is very helpful for anybody that is, is going to read it outside of this exercise that, that we're doing here. In sections 5 and 8, we didn't create a lot of new language, but again, we tried to relocate it. We've got to make sure that we have language that were another community to join the district, that it spells out very clearly how this new community would be dealt into any capital costs or debt, because we use a 3-year span of enrollment to calculate a town's debt or capital. And if you're only in the district for a year, we have to clarify that. So that's what you would see in terms of the changes. And it also allows the regional school committee to negotiate with a new community. But at the end of the day, any communities coming into this district or leaving this district is considered a regional agreement amendment.
Right.
So it always comes back to the towns
to vote on.
to vote on.
Yep.
Exactly right. Anything that involves expanding or contracting the district would be considered an amendment to this agreement. In section 6, as I said, we highlighted a section on debt, and we wanted to focus attention on the various ways that a regional district can incur debt. And Chapter 71, Section 16 spells this out in 3 ways. In paragraph 1, it's you need all 8 of your communities to support it. If you had one dissenting community, then the measure would fail. There's another provision for vocational schools that makes little sense to me, but it allows a 2/3 vote,
I saw that.
but the dissenting communities don't have to pay.
Contribute to it, yeah.
That's a very bad idea. I would never be recommending that. And the third option is in section lowercase n, which is a district-wide ballot. So if the South Shore Regional School Committee voted to authorize debt, it's just the first step. There's notification under the statute to the communities. But the school committee would have to specify up front what provision of Chapter 71 are they using to incur the debt. Cape Tech, which is a regional vocational school based in Harwich, and Minuteman Regional Tech, which is in Lexington, they recently went through the MSBA pipeline. They're getting brand new schools. They both used the section N when their school committees voted to incur debt. They opted to go the route of a district-wide ballot. A ballot question in all 8 communities on the same day, the cost to be absorbed by the district. And so we wanted to put that all in the section on debt, because if there's an opportunity where we're borrowing money in the future, MSBA, something else,
Right.
the committee would always have to reference one of those provisions in order to do it. In section 8 and 9, this is something that came from our subcommittee through our school committee, and it was to lower the threshold for making amendments to the agreement and to have new towns join or towns leave. The current agreement says it has to be unanimous.
Yeah.
So we felt that lowering it to a 2/3 threshold would be a reasonable a way of conducting business. I can't imagine this is a revolving door concept in terms of, once every 40 years we're looking at this agreement. Maybe we need to improve that average a bit. But towns coming in and going out, that's not going to be happening all the time.
Right.
If a community wanted to get out of the district and for some reason they were required to stay, I can only imagine what animosity that would cause relative to the approving of budgets and funding. But be that as it may, a 2/3 threshold is still, I think, a reasonable threshold that we have a stable district and not have one member community prevent another member, a sole community, from preventing somebody else from coming in or going out. So you'll find those changes in sections 8 and 9. Section 9, we also clarify that if a member community were to withdraw, that they may still have financial obligations to the
I
district.
saw that, yeah.
There's a 2-year phase-out. The Department of Education has spelled out some clear guidelines on that. So it's not anything immediate, but that even after leaving the district, there could be liabilities that town is responsible for. And then in Section 10, we clarify the district's use of non-resident tuition under the statute.
So you do clarify it, but for those of us who don't know what Section 71, 16D and a half, Chapter 71, Section 16D and a half, how would you use
It's
those
a
funds?
good read, Laura. Yeah, it basically is, our practice has been that when we collect non-resident tuition, students coming to our school from outside of our district, we collect the money in this fiscal year, and we use it to offset assessments in the next fiscal year. The statute says that if we had immediate educational needs, we could use that money.
To use the money, right.
Our experience has been, in all of the years that we've been collecting non-resident tuition, is that if we're able to sustain an operating budget, there is no reason to use it immediately. So that means, and after this meeting, I'll be talking to FinCom, that we had an increase in our non-resident tuition, which helps to lower assessments for the following year. But this merely memorializes what the statute is saying.
That's great, thank you.
Sure thing. And then in section 11, there was a paragraph on something that was originally called the annual report. If you look at the strike-through language, it talks about a lot of the financial components, which are already addressed in the budget section. So we didn't want to eliminate the section on the annual report, but instead we use that shell to basically memorialize what we already do, and that is through the school committee representative, we provide an annual report that goes into the town report that's provided at spring town meeting. So that's it in a nutshell. Could I answer any questions?
I have 2 questions.
Go ahead.
How many non-residents do you have, the tuitions? How many
We
students?
have, Kenny, we've got 42 students. We have the enrollment as of October 1 was 650. And we had, I think it's 45 students, non-resident.
Have you ever had a town leave since 1960?
No.
No.
So the district started with the original 6. Whitman Hanson joined in 82, 83, and yeah. What motivated this conversation, as I said at the beginning, was that there was interest from the town of Hull to explore joining.
Right.
And so we applied for that grant, and we were able to use the grant, and Hull took a piece of the grant money for them to run their own financial analysis. So at the very least, we were going to work towards a revised regional agreement, whether or not Hull pursued that. And as it turns out, they're not going to pursue it. The primary reason, it was a great working experience with their delegation, but what we had said through Chris and the other members of the subcommittee is that to join the district and to become a full voting member means you're walking into a fixed asset that has been supported and maintained by 6 + 2, 8 communities. So bottom line, there would be buy-in costs.
Okay.
And the conversation never got past that. I think that in a community like Hull, where they do value vocational education, they're also struggling with declining enrollment and spreading their resources too thin. Now, students from Hull, much like Marshfield, Duxbury, Hingham, and Pembroke, and Marshfield, they're all non-resident communities. Those kids could still apply.
Right.
They would be accepted based on our admissions policy for non-resident students.
The tuition point.
So the Hull matter doesn't go anywhere, but we're making progress in this area.
Allowed you to be able to clean up your agreement.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Tom, you have to, we spoke before the meeting, and I'm the representative from the selectmen up at the high school.
Yes.
We're doing this exact same thing right now.
They're going through the same process. Yes.
Which we just finished up. My first question is, you have to go to each of the member towns, to each board of selectmen. Am I correct?
Yes.
And do this
Yes.
with each one of those towns?
Yes.
Okay, good luck. And I know what
Thank you.
you've gone through with this. And my concern is section 9. Because, I don't like to beat around the bush. Basically, and you said that could be 2 years of debt for a town that wants to leave. It really is impossible for a town to leave, because there would be so much debt that it would be practically impossible.
There would have to be a compelling reason for a town to leave, because, and my best scenario would be, then the minute you leave, your students would still be able to apply, potentially get in as non-residents. You have no authority over the governance of the district, and you're absorbing all the transportation costs.
So there's no incentive to leave.
There is,
No,
I
none.
cannot imagine any reason
But the
why that-
option is still there.
Absolutely right.
Agreed.
And that's exactly what with only 2 towns.
Right.
If one was to leave, the
Right.
district would dissolve, basically, but whichever town it was, they would still they would have all that debt.
And even at a 2/3 threshold to allow that community out, if it was somehow done, an analysis was done in terms of, every community should appropriately say, what's it gonna cost us if these folks leave? Is someone gonna replace them? If not, then how long would this take? And that would inform the respective communities to either support or reject the matter. And then, if it were rejected, then we continue on as a district community.
And
But
they would have to know who's gonna pick up the additional costs from that, from the one that's withdrawing.
Certainly, absolutely right. That would have to be first and foremost on any analysis for any recommendation if we had a withdrawing town. But I can see what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I can say with 8, it seems like, psychologically, there's more space. With 2, it feels, ooh, like it's
Yeah.
a 3-legged race and someone falls down. know.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to thank you and Chris, because I know what you guys have gone through to put this together, because it's not an easy task, and it's very tedious, and the language has to be right, because even after you guys bring it to all these towns, which, the agreement that I've been working on will come in front of us, it still has to go to the commissioner, and
That's
there's
exactly
so-
right.
And then town meeting, there's so many, and I just want to thank you guys, because I know,
We
what you've been
we
through.
appreciate it. It's definitely a lot of quality time together, Chris, right? Yeah. There was a lot of work, but well worth it. It's not something we do every day. It's a better document as a result.
Not that it matters, but why town clerk or board of selectmen chair? Could you have done the administrator of the towns, or managers, whichever?
That's an interesting question. I think the rationale for that, if I can remember, was that it's the town clerk that certifies that the action was taken
Okay.
at
Town meeting,
Yes.
that's correct,
Yeah.
yes.
But I don't think there's any rule around that.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I think that was the rationale that we put that there.
All right, any other questions? All right, so what we're looking to do is to vote on this contract, and I think since it's either the town clerk or board of selectmen chair, I don't think it matters either way, right, Tom, or Chris? You're looking for either one, so I could entertain a motion,
This would be a matter for the spring town meeting, so your collective support,
just support this altogether.
When it goes to
So
the-
after town meeting, that's when it gets signed. Gotcha, okay, cool.
All right, we'll vote to place the agreement on the warrant,
On the
because it's
warrant.
on the warrant, and then you'll vote to recommend it, and that will be your vote to support it.
I gotcha.
So moved.
So,
Second.
Did I beat him?
so we're making a motion to recommend, what article was it, Mary?
To
Do you
place
remember?
and recommend.
To place it? What article, do you remember what article it was? I remember seeing it in
No,
here.
it's on the annual.
Was it
I don't know.
32? 33. I'm looking at the
It's 22.
22. 22 SSVT, okay, I gotcha. So we would, are we gonna do the article recommendation, right, or the contract, or does it matter?
It's pretty much just the same
It's
thing.
the same thing, right? So we look to place and recommend
Article 20,
Article
Two.
22, which is the agreement among the towns of Abington, Cohasset, Hanover, Hanson, Norwell, Rockland, Situate, and Whitman for the vocational regional high school district.
The amended agreement.
Amended agreement, right?
Yep.
And it has been made and seconded, right? Who seconded
Yes.
it? You, Donnie?
Yeah, no, I made the motion.
You made the motion? Who seconded?
I did.
You did? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye, 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Well done on this.
Thanks, guys.
I really like the cross out and the yellow highlights and stuff. Thank you very much. Yeah, wait till I see yours, Jim. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, at least you've got a model, right? Okay, discussion regarding the economic development with the OCPC representatives. Who do we have with us here tonight?
Bruce Hughes.
Bruce? Bruce Hughes. I apologize, I don't have your name in front of me, Bruce.
I'm having,
That's okay. We'll come back, we can come back
Well,
to
I
it.
still have paper to give you. I'm not gonna give you all at once.
Yes.
Hey, everyone, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, thank you, board, for having me. So Mike McHugh contacted me and said, come on over, and, we're talking about economic development in the town. One of the sites I guess you're primarily looking at is the old Ocean Spray site. Also talked about establishing an economic development commission. I went back to the most recent town master plan, and economic development goals for the town, encourage existing business centers by making commercial and industrial property attractive, provide appropriate incentives to encourage development by architectural variety that is consistent with the zoning bylaw. 2, encourage appropriate use of industrial zone land. 3, encourage effective and appropriate customary and innovative home occupancy opportunities. 4, actively support efforts to improve communication infrastructure. 5, work with regional planning agencies, I like to hear that, to support regional economic growth. And 6, to work with existing businesses to help them survive and expand. One of the things Mike was talking about is you folks have formed an industrial development commission?
We did.
Okay,
With unfortunately just 2 members,
Okay.
both of which are sitting here right now.
I have some guidance for that. I have the state law, and I also have a couple of great examples. Town of Easton and the town of Andover. Would you folks be interested in this material?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure. So why don't I do that? So I'm a
Easton-
planner, so I like to have paper.
Easton and Andover, did you say?
Easton and Andover, yeah. And these are actually great examples, I think, because they're worked. And,
Andover.
They were been appointed by the selectmen, and but you folks can take a look at them. I've also got some statistics for the town, demographic statistics as far as employment. These are the most recent figures, your unemployment rate. You know, the town's unemployment rate for last year was 3.5%, which isn't bad. State average was 3.8, so your local average was lower than the state's.
We like to work in this town.
Yeah.
That's right, Tom.
All right.
What I noticed about some of the things that you read were the 3 key words, which were encourage, work with, and actively support. And that's all well and good, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm hoping with what you're handing out to us.
Pass these down, Bruce?
I'm gonna give you that.
Oh.
I mean, what you're giving to us, I believe, are what, results from these towns?
Well,
What they've done
these are examples of Economic Development Council.
from these towns?
Their
Some-
charters?
Charters and
Yep.
everything else,
Okay.
which is good. Also some statistics, unemployment statistics, and also the state law as far as the
Okay.
commission goes.
Great, thank you.
So,
If you want to just give me the file, I can
Pass
pass
this,
it down.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, like, I can do that. That
Yeah, you know what I'm
rather than
saying?
have me stand in front of you.
That's okay.
Okay. Let me just keep one of these for myself.
Mike, just to clarify, I don't know, we didn't technically create a commission. It was a subcommittee of the
Take one, pass
Of
it down,
the-
right?
selectmen.
No, I believe we created a committee with,
But it wasn't a commission.
no, it's an ad hoc,
That's what I'm
Board.
trying to get
Yes,
to,
yes.
because Bruce is passing out the mass general laws pertaining to development of
if
a
we,
commission.
yeah, if we wish to go in
Yes.
that direction.
Okay,
Take one, pass it down. It's like school all over again.
Yeah.
Okay. We sh-
Well, we're gonna see a lot of detention in one.
So you've got these. There's also some other things that you can do as far as economic development. You could look at 40R overlay districts. This is smart growth, and I believe that you folks are pursuing this or have considered this for a town meeting warrant article to have a I love this acronym, SGOD, Town of Hanson Smart Growth Overlay District. And also, you could do expedited permitting, Chapter 43D expedited permitting. And you could also do tax incentive financing in this town. You folks are aware of what gifts are,
Yeah,
as far
that
as
would be,
businesses and stuff like that. So that's,
here it is.
the problem, you've got a couple of problems in the town as far as attracting businesses. You don't have town sewer, and you don't have any high-speed internet in the town. I love your town website. I went to that as far as the links for businesses go. People with a business, could look at that and they can access it. But we've done a few things in some other towns as far as making it easier to open businesses. And I've written these things, so I know them very well. But a guide to open businesses, we did this for Pembroke and for Abington,
We do.
which are terrific books. And they're on the town website. Something we worked on last year was create a Municipal Business Association for the town of Abington. And we've done in Stoughton and Easton, actually a commercial site finder. What we did was we created a list of available commercial industrial land. And then you put it on the town website, you could input these sites or retrieve these sites. They have a pretty stout IT department in both these towns, and that's something that would be required. And of course, something Old Colony did a long time ago was the creation of a transit-oriented development district by the train station. I think the train station, the land, I know the issues. I worked with Noreen O'Toole on that site, so I'm very familiar with the issues on that site. Obviously, you know your town a lot better than I do. But I worked on the Hanson Hospital site, I worked on that thing. So I've done a little bit of work in this town over the years. It's wetlands, that ocean spray thing backs up to the wetlands, it's issue. I understand that the pumping station that kept that dry is gone, so that's an issue. You have to work with the owner and stuff like. But I mean, I see that, I see the parking lot for the train station, and I see that land, and I'd say that would be attractive to somebody as far as mixed. I think you gotta look at mixed use, that's the big thing now, is residential and commercial, as opposed to just another industrial park, with a bunch of space metal buildings and
And
stuff.
to be clear, we're not just looking at that Cranberry
Oh, yeah.
facility, all of Main
All-
Street, I shouldn't say all of it, but the sections that cause one to stop and wonder what the heck is going on there, those are the areas would really, so there's quite a swath there but obviously that's kind of a focal point for a lot of people.
Well, that building itself is close to the street. That's one of the things I
The
don't like.
biggest problem in that area, I think, is the subsurface sewage disposal systems.
And the drainage is complex too. They've got some rather unique drainage areas cutting through underneath the Cranberry building itself from across the street, so there's a lot of complex issues with that
Yeah,
property.
you're right, and then we've had the age-old discussion, which I don't really want to assume tonight, but, is it the town's drainage, is it the property owner's drainage, who's causing these drainage problems? And of course, very apropos that you're here this evening, it's quite close to some sensitive, headways, Taunton River watershed, Burridge, so this isn't something for the faint of heart in terms of conservation and trying to make sure that you're being protective of that. But at the same time, we don't want to keep looking at a blight. Something that is an embarrassment, we understand why it is where it is, but one of the things we kind of wanted to look at is, what grant money is out there? What could we be looking for from the state? I know, for instance, Josh Cutler is on the state economic, development. Is that something that you've got some background in working with, collaborating and partnering with, and that type of thing? That's kind of where we're coming from.
Well, I think adopting the expedited permitting with a 40R really opens the gateway toward getting some money from the state.
Okay.
Because, it's smart growth, it's a
Yep.
buzzword. But, if the town adopted smart growth principles, it really opens the town up, toward getting grant money. So I think that's something you really need to look
So,
at.
talk to me about the expedited permitting.
Okay.
Is this something, we've gotten feedback from the land use boards that they would very much like to work together to come up with, if an applicant comes to us and says, I've got this particular project where it's not death by 1,000 cuts and they've got to go to all these different committees and be kind of bantied about. And this is not disparaging the committees because they're all doing their job, but they sort of get into a swim lane and they know what the planning board does or the conservation does or whatever. But we really want to try to bring everybody together and have them say, okay, guys, let's put ourselves in the place of an applicant. This is daunting to have to go before each one of these boards and understand each one of the nuanced regulations and try to comply, and then to meet that requirement only to be told by another board that, well, in meeting that, maybe you unwittingly failed to meet this and that type of thing. So I'm sure this is nothing new to you, Bruce. I'm sure you hear it. So in other towns, how have you seen them approach that,
Because
the expedited
because
permitting?
those other departments still have to be part of the equation.
Right, yeah,
So, but how do we make it streamlined?
yeah.
Well, I tell you, a lot of communities have this book here, because people walk in the town hall. It's not only, we're not the only people who do, but I think I do them very well. But I've done several of these. But this is a basic thing. You're Joe businessman or Ms. businessman, you walk in the town hall. Well, which department do you go to as far as licensing and stuff like that?
Yes.
So these books here, this is something I think we could assist you with district local technical assistance.
Okay.
But basically, it's a step-by-step guide.
One book that tells
One
you
book,
how to get a
one
business
book,
started in Hanson.
and
I love it.
we cite several examples of common stores, stuff like that
Yeah.
you looked at. I know when I did it for Pembroke last year, they wanted one for assisted living facilities, so I was happy to put that in there. But I think that's really a cool thing is that, because most people, a lot of people come from out of town. It's not just people who live in town and start businesses, and every town is different,
Yep.
So if you folks had one of these books, someone could walk into this town hall, or go on the town website, because we put this on the website when it's done. At least they'd have a basic idea of where to start, okay?
Okay.
So, I mean, that's something I'd highly recommend.
I agree, that makes us, even initially, seem much more open and friendly.
Or friendly, yeah,
to having-
business friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't we have something like that, or no?
Laurie actually worked on something like that before she left. It was one of those things we were working on. When you walk in, who do you go to? What do you
Yeah,
need?
where do you
And,
start?
That's so
I don't think we
elemental,
got that
isn't it?
finished
I
up.
mean,
Maybe we need to revisit and look at it.
revisit, I mean, if this is something that you folks like, Mike can tell you what the DLTA, Laurie's on vacation, she's in someplace warm, and we're here, but, I think this is a basic thing, and if this is something Laurie's working on, but we could do this, for you, Mike, talk to Mike about applying for some DLTA money, district
Well,
local technical assistance.
And two, I forget which selectman just mentioned it, but to the point on the 40R, the expedited permitting, I was able to get that passed in 2 of the communities in which I've served. So I'm very, very familiar with it and how it works. So, and it is something that I have on the great big list of things that I'd like to get to. So it's good that it's being brought out this evening, and the board is, vocalizing its interest in moving forward with something like that. So I certainly can, push that up the chain of priorities and stuff.
What groups would be involved in determining the area for 40? Like, is that just us, or is it a collaborative?
I'm talking about the expedited permitting.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's just anyone who comes
Yeah,
in.
I got that.
Yeah.
But I would, even though we can put the booklet together, the booklet is one thing, but making sure that we've got all of the boards and committees on board and that we're all rowing in the same direction, like we want to be business friendly, we
Yeah.
want to, and again, this isn't to say we're going to willy-nilly throw all the compliance requirements aside. It's saying we're going to be consistent, we're going to be clear, and we're going to tell people up front what's required.
And that would be part of the process of going to each department, to each appropriate department, and describing the 40R, how to go forward with putting together the expedited permitting, to get the buy-in, which is what I did in the other communities.
Okay.
Because you don't want to, number one, shove something down the throat of a department that doesn't have any buy-in, and number two, you don't want to go to town meeting and
Right.
have that particular, a representative from that particular group say, well, we don't buy into this, or we were not consulted. It's got to be a group, a community effort. And again, I was able to shepherd it that way through a couple of communities in which I served previously. So I would just duplicate that sort of a process. It's
And they're all doing great work. And talk to members of each one of the different groups, and I know that they know we have this need. So I feel pretty confident that,
Well, I think too, along those lines, picking up on what was discussed at the meeting that we had 5 minutes ago, last Thursday, when we were discussing with members of the planning board the potential of putting a more of a community development person as opposed to a town planner in place who would have that interface with a couple of the regulatory boards. And that goes, kind of hand in glove with what we're talking about right now in terms of combined expedited permitting. So I think that we are slowly putting in place some things that lead to something like that kind of greasing the tracks.
So part of the deal, Donnie, I'm sorry. Donnie?
Well, I was just gonna say, this has been tossed around now for many years. I've been here too long, I guess, but that problem with that area down there, where the old Cranberry building was. I think, Jim, when you first came on, there's a problem of the water there.
Yes.
And until you can get some land suitable to do anything with, you have to have it permitted for a subsurface sewage disposal system. And I think people have tried to do this, and with the conservation restraints that have been put on, because it used to be so many feet from wetlands, and now it's been increased away from it. And I don't know if anybody that's had the land has tried to really find out whether or not a sewage system can be put in there.
Probably it's the expense. Keep in mind, that's not just under conservation. DEP got involved in that.
I
piece of
know.
property, yeah.
Well,
Don't
I mean,
forget-
you aren't gonna be
Yeah.
able to.
But this isn't just about that one piece of property.
No.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the important thing. is that-
Yeah.
That property is owned by a private person, and I get what you're saying here. But some of the property items that I'm seeing, Bruce, that I'd like to see filled, like the old one, the southwestern, the medical one across from.
Yes.
You know, right up on Liberty Street, yeah. And then right even
The
in,
old liquor store.
yeah, the old liquor store is a
Yep,
shameful
on the
thing. That
corner.
building is, the other building, the empty building at the Shaw's Plaza, we haven't filled that when we
Yeah,
saw
I
cars.
came in early, so I was sitting there and I saw several vacant stores in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do we, as part of the deal, as part of what you're saying, like the tax incentives, that we could try to bring in for that? I mean,
Well, adopting the 40R expedited permitting, just for the sake of the audience, I'll have the law, I won't read the whole thing, but basically, what expedited permitting, 43 expedited state permitting program promotes the expedited permitting of commercial, industrial, residential, and mixed-use projects on sites with dual designation as a priority development site under Mass General Law. The point is, it speeds up the permitting process. So that's the expedited permitting.
And if I'm not mistaken, Bruce, once a town adopts that, they're also given special consideration by the state when the
Exactly.
state goes out and tries to promote locations.
Exactly.
They let people know that,
Yeah.
the town of Hanson is a business-friendly town. They'll actually work with us in terms of particular locations that we're trying to promote. It really is a
so it's like an
win-win.
advertisement for
Well,
the
the state will sort of do that for
Do
us.
we know what towns around us are also 40R?
I could find that out.
Well, because I think it's important to know if we're competing with, it would be great if we're not competing
Well,
with
40,
permitting.
but 40R is different from the expedited permitting. 40R is basically promotes housing. It's mixed, I'm reading, 40R Smart Growth District encourages communities to create dense residential or mixed-use smart growth, including a high percentage of affordable housing, to be located near transit stations, for example. So in this town, the Ocean Spray site isn't the only site there. As I understand, 40B was proposed in the industrial park on the other side, near the
And on
train
Phillips
station and
Street.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so that would tie in with your transit thing, 40R. So 40R is tied in with the transit, involves housing, high-dense development. Expedited permitting is a general thing for the town as far as, and being able to encourage development by making it easier to go through the permitting process. The point is that, both, they're different. They're both down to the end of getting more development in the town. If the town adopts one or both of these, then it makes the town eligible for funding grants and stuff like that. So there's the hook for this thing as far as, actually, I think it's a win-win thing as far, I think if you were to get one of these books that helps the businesses come into town and look at the expedited permitting in the 40R, that would make the town eligible for state grants. Because, this is what you folks were saying as far as infrastructure and wanting to get grants to pay for a lot of this stuff. So I know in the communities that have had it, Plymouth has done expedited permitting and all that, and they've done things like with the old Cottage Park, which sat there for years. Because they did the expedited permitting, because they did the 40R, that thing is starting to take off now. And there are sites in Brockton, sites in Easton, for example, that they've done this stuff. As a planner for a regional planning agency, I have to go around and spread the news on this, but it's...
I don't think there's going to be too much pushback. I don't imagine there would be on the expedited permitting. The 40R, we have a lot of NIMBY in our town where people get concerned about the nature of the town changing.
Oh, sure.
And we are a bedroom community, and, primarily people living in single homes. And we've already seen with the project that you alluded to down there, that people are very concerned about it. That said, if somebody's complying with the regulations, we don't really have a lot of control over what is being built. 40R, I could see we might get some pushback in town on that. I don't know what the process would be for rolling that out. Do you have to have a hearing? Do we have to have a hearing, or is that something that?
Well, there's a process.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we can,
And it is a town meeting vote.
It is a town
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
I just asked Mike that same question. I mean, no matter what we do here, it still has to go in front of the people
oh,
of the
sure,
town.
sure.
And then by right it should, right? 'Cause they should have,
Yeah.
and we're not saying they
By
shouldn't.
By right and by law.
But
so.
at least I feel like we're stuck,
Yeah.
is the problem.
So you need to do
know?
something, sure.
And JJ's Pub, all those along that, that place,
Yeah.
the old school down there, right, the old school, right?
Yes.
That
East
place
Washington
too,
Street
On East
School.
Washington.
We
Oh, yeah.
don't own that, we sold it.
Right.
But it's private and nobody's done anything with it.
Not for years now. So there's a
So
Remember
lot
like, to Jim's point though, Bruce, this is one of the things that most of these properties that we're talking about are not town-owned.
Right.
And so we've got to work with the private owner and somehow find a way to incentivize either somebody to come in and buy and, find a way to make that look really appealing, or incentivize them to do something with it. And is that something that you've got experience?
I think, Old Colony's had experience with having towns adopt both the 40R and the expedited permitting. And I can tell you from experience, the expedited permitting, that's probably the business guide and the expedited permitting are probably the low-hanging fruit, the
Yep.
things that you could probably most quickly adopt. I'd love to see you do the 40R too. That, obviously, it's a town meeting vote. The housing around the train station, it'd be great. People could get off the train, go, get off the train, go to their houses, a lot of the millennials, all their kids, my wife and I our kids are gone, I have a 7-room house, we're not gonna need that much longer,
And the
But-
point is, Bruce, is that bringing in those type of developments will help increase businesses in the town, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you're right. So are you saying that you would reach out to these places, these private places, and say, hey, what do you want for this property? Many of them are for sale or have been for sale.
Well, it's not, I think what I'm suggesting is if the town were to explore passing the expedited permitting.
It's a step in the right
It's
direction.
a step in the right direction,
Okay.
because by having this, if you have a house in a commercial zone, I live in Abington, with redevelopment of 18, for example,
Yeah.
123, a lot of the housing is gonna go away, because it's all zoned highway commercial and stuff like that. And 18 is being widened from 139 north, for example, so. If you have it in a highway commercial zone, but you have the incentives like the expedited permitting and whatnot, that might encourage people to develop the land in a way that, commercially.
property, right.
To bring, because I understand what you're trying to get, you're trying to increase the tax base of the town.
Yeah.
And also, you've got pretty good employment in the town, but you also want people to have jobs in this town and creating businesses.
My 2 kids being 2 of them,
We
yeah.
also want to clean it up, Bruce. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, and, so, yes, create jobs, bring businesses, but clean it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think adopting these incentives that I've talked about, doing the book, adopting some of these incentives with the expedited permitting, the 40R, doing TIFs, encouraging people to do tax incentive financing. Those are, I'll give you an example of that. In the town of Abington, we did one for Cape Cod Lumber, Harvey Hurwitz, and he relocated everything from Mansfield to Abington.
Yeah.
And Jesus, he spent
A lot of
10,
money.
$20 million on that thing. That was a town, partially, it was like an old
It
town.
was a
that took
golf
that-
course, wasn't it?
It was a golf course,
Yeah.
riding range. And that was a terrific
Riding
example
range,
of a
yeah.
TIF.
Yeah.
It's on
Looks
Groveland
beautiful
Street,
now.
which is sort of off the main drag, but I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have to have some of these things on main drags, but you can encourage them to be in areas that are
They're gonna do all
industrial or
that.
commercial.
Right.
And I'm always saying that this isn't industrial, this is commercial, it's more than factories and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, I'm hoping, hopefully I can come back here and help you guys, but I think by taking some of the ideas that I've given you for the industrial commission, commercial industrial
Yeah.
commission, maybe adopting some of these things, the expedited permitting, the 40R, a business guide and stuff like that. It might encourage the town to have some growth. And I have a certain amount of experience in doing this. And of course, we have Laurie working in our office now, and Laurie knows your town very well, so.
And I think to a lot of questions that were I think just came up, and Selectman Hickey just asked me offline as well, in terms of who would do really the groundwork on this sort of stuff. OCPC, Bruce and his people are there to advise and assist and get us up and running. But it really would be the economic development group that we put together, as well as my office, and as well as, I mentioned before, the potential community development person who would, reach that hand out to the businesses that currently exist here and develop those relationships and see what people are thinking, what sort of opportunities they're looking for, make them aware of not only what we can do on the local level, but what can be done on the state level. The first foray that I had in public service was as the economic development officer for the town of Walpole. So I'm fully familiar with all, at least back then, of all that needs to go into it. And again, that's something that hopefully the person that we can potentially hire can spearhead. So I think it's a partnership of the Board of Selectmen, an economic development group, OCPC, certain elements from the state that we've already reached out to, and I believe that I've reported on. Economic development is an extremely collaborative sort of adventure, as it were.
Well, the town of Bridgewater, for example, has a economic development / town planner position.
Yeah.
Andrew D'Alino had that position, he moved to North Carolina, they just hired someone who commutes from the western part of the state every day, to go to Bridgewater every day. But I think the whole idea of a town planner, just as a town planner, is going away. I think you have to have a economic development element to it, so I would say like community economic, like my title is community planner / economic development planner / community planner, because I do a little bit of everything. But I think this person's focus, the new person that you bring in, whoever it is going to have a focus on the economic development. And, working with us, working with you folks and stuff like that. He or she they wouldn't be alone. But presumably you'd hire someone who had some experience in this area too. That's another piece of advice that I'm giving you. Hire someone with an economic development background in addition to planning background.
Are you available?
I have a good job.
But Bruce, I have a serious question to ask you, though. And Mike had just said it, you would help us along the beginning of this with the baby steps. And I just made the initials EDC instead of saying the whole thing. And we would get this committee together with your help and put it together and then bring it out or show it to the people. So it's really we can't lose. And if the people decide they don't want it, they don't want it. But at least we've gone through this whole process to say this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And Mike, our last meeting, we talked about that. You've actually created the job proposal, right? The Planning and Community Development
And
Director.
that's included in there.
And all those, and these
Yeah.
things that Bruce is talking about
Yeah,
are
see,
part of it.
all this stuff is fitting together. I mean, this is part of a greater sort of plan that I feel we can put together for the town of Hanson. Hence my request for Bruce to come here. Hence my request, reaching out to various elements with Emmy Hahn with the downtown development, with the people from Mass Development. It's all a collaboration,
But
and
just
we're starting to put these things in place.
But we don't, the only thing that we have to bring before town meeting is the 40R thing. We can do the expedited permitting, we can do the booklet. I mean, these don't have to go before.
I thought correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but I thought we brought the expedited permitting before town meeting as well. That wasn't something that the board could adopt.
Something you have to
Okay.
do.
It was something that has to be
Okay.
done at town meeting. Well, like I said, I wouldn't want to, like I said before, I'd want to get all the elements together of the inspectional sort of regulatory boards and then bring it to town meeting so that, everyone has buy-in.
I-
But as far as the booklet goes, yeah, we could start on that tomorrow.
But it would be more effective if we had the expedited permitting. And
Well, no,
That would,
That would help, but I mean, I really think the book, making it simpler for somebody to come into town hall and not have to answer a lot of questions. I've worked in your town for a long time, so I have a lot of respect for your departments and stuff like that. But, if this was on your town website, for example, it would just make it a lot
Yeah.
easier
Sure.
to do this. Something, I was just, I'm involved in something called Citizens Planner Training Collaborative. It's training for zoning and planning boards. We just had a great annual conference out at Worcester on Saturday. And I moderated the session called Creating an Economic, how's this for karma? Creating a town's economic development strategy. Now, I'm going to have the printouts for that and stuff like that. I'd make that available. It was a great presentation.
Did anybody film it?
We have, I don't know if it's on video, but I have all the PowerPoint for that and stuff like that, which I'd be happy to share with you.
Okay, yeah.
Angie Cleveland, who's an AICP planner, and she's also head of the Mass APA, American Planning Association. And I talked her into doing this, and it was great. We had almost 80 people in that room. We had 300 people show up. 300 people give up St. Patrick's Day to come out to Worcester to hear 17 sessions on planning. You guys should come some year if you really want to learn. It's great networking. A lot of people from this area go to it. It's great networking, and it's great education as far as planning goes. It's also beneficial for the town because the MIA, the insurance, boards make bad decisions. The town is covered with that. So I'm just encouraging you to, get some education for your board and maybe yourself.
Well, if you do you get notifications on that? Yeah, so maybe just loop us in, because as we get more into this, I think one or two of us might want to go to that, particularly, the session Bruce alluded to.
Yeah, I'll make sure that you get the PowerPoint presentation on that, so you can just see. I thought Angie, a guy by the name of Abel Vargas, did a terrific job on that. And I mean, I'm always excited when people are interested in planning and our work, and for people to come out on a Saturday and be in that room at 9 o'clock in the morning, which was really good. So hopefully tonight I've helped to educate you folks a little bit as to what you can do. And, I'm always available, or people from the agency are always available to come out here. And
Thank you, Bruce. I think you have.
Yeah.
You've given us some direction on where to start. If at least the first couple of steps, and maybe once we get going that way, we can start running, right? Because that's how you get there. But yeah, I
I've
do
known Mike
appreciate
for a long
this.
time, so.
yeah, we've known each other quite some time.
We're both graduates of the Bridgewater State Masters in Public Administration program, and which is a terrific program.
We just seem to continue to fall over ourselves every couple of years or so.
So I think it would be great if we bulleted these things and have a project plan for economic development.
Yep. And again, we, I know I read it at the announcements every time. We have an economic development committee, and we need members. We need members to join out there, so please, if you're out there listening and you've got some free time or interested in moving our town forward in some of these efforts, please join. Bruce, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Very much, yep. Hopefully we'll have you back here and you can maybe gauge us how we've done from this meeting.
I'll leave this guide to opening a business in Pembroke with folks to take a look at. Because I have the original copy of it someplace, so you can have this. But at least to give you an idea of what you would be looking at as far as one of these things go. Don, I'll give this to you.
And you're right,
Thank you.
Mary, I
Thank you for
remember
having me,
Laurie
folks.
putting something together, a map on what to do and who to see.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on it, and I don't know where it finally ended up.
But we could- okay.
I'll look for that.
Okay. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we've got, is it Jen or Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, why don't we move to you so that you don't have to
Okay.
stay the whole meeting, okay?
That was kind of interesting, though. I was happy to listen to that.
Now, listen to it good, I'm glad.
We have
Do you
openings.
have a business?
No. I got enough stuff.
It's always nice to hear that, when somebody says that one of the Board of Selectmen meetings was interesting.
We don't hear that.
No,
We'll see if she ever comes back.
right. Okay, we're on my agenda, here we go. Is this for the
Item
North?
3,
This is, okay, item 3, which is for is it the North
North River Commission.
North River Commissioner, okay? So we have an application, we actually had 2 applicants to it, but one decided to pull out, and we thank him for doing that, and that was John Kemet. So if you look at item 3 on your agenda, we have an application for the North River Commission. Jennifer Hine, is that right? Heine, at 606 State Street. Employed at Stonehill College, that's a great school, right? My experience as a longtime administrator at Stonehill College, as well as a member of the Board of Directors for the Natural Resources Trust of Easton, has given me, needed committee, much needed, given me needed committee experience. I have been a neighbor and frequent user of the North River for almost 30 years. I would entertain a motion to accept Jennifer to this application for appointment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Jennifer, thank you very much for stepping up on this. I appreciate this. And again, to John, and John stepped aside in knowing that you had stepped up for it, so thank you.
Well, I
for
think that they need an alternate too, right? There's-
I
Actually,
didn't get
we
that.
currently
We
have
have one
one,
of those.
yes,
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
he attends, but
I was gonna
we'll
say,
see
'cause-
when he's up and we can slide somebody else in there if he's not interested.
Yeah, they were under the impression there was nobody, so.
Okay, so, all those in favor? Aye, 5-0. Thank you, welcome to the family, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, yeah, big time.
So Jennifer, I'll do up a letter and I'll send that to you. You can come in and be sworn in. I'll also send a copy to Judy Greco, so
Okay.
she knows that you're on.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Beth-
Now we can cross one, one less
Take that
commission you opening, you've got to read.
Don't have to
Just
read it
cross
now,
that
yes,
one
that's
off.
terrific. And, while we're on it, we have 2 applicants for the McQuon Reuse Committee. Mr. Bill Garvey, who's on the Water Commission, I believe, is that right?
Yeah.
And we also have a Jenna Gomes at 113 Andrew Lane, Bill Garvey at 66 Morton Street. I would entertain a motion to accept the 2 applicants, Bill Garvey at 66 Morton Street and Jenna Gomes at
Looking
113.
for 2 or 1?
We're looking for
We're just
one.
Oh, I thought we were looking for 2.
Nope, one.
Oh, I'm
We had
sorry,
2
I
applicants
apologize.
for it.
I thought somebody,
Expanded it to one the other meeting.
okay.
Expanded by one, I mean.
I'm with you. Okay, so, so let's open it for discussion then. So we've got 2 applicants, 1 position. I apologize. I thought one had stepped down from there, but I'm thinking of something else.
No.
Apparently, so. So we've got 2 applicants with 1, and 1 position. Does somebody want to make a pitch, or, and neither one is here today. I think Bill Garvey is already on the Water Commission, and Jenna Gomes, I don't think is taking up current office, is she? That we know of?
She runs the community Christmas,
That's it.
Yeah.
but that's where you know her name.
Yep.
Okay.
I like it, I mean, I know, Mr. Garvey has put in some time on the Priority Repair Committee.
Yep.
And is he part of that now, Jim, Mr. Hickey?
Yes,
Okay,
but
so he's on that, and he's on the Water Commission, so I think it would be nice to encourage Mrs. Gomes to participate and, get a fresh perspective in there. I don't want to be disrespectful to Mr. Harvey. I appreciate his passion for this.
Yeah,
Garvey, I don't know why I keep calling him
that's
Harvey.
okay, I do the same too. No, I know Bill, Bill's a good, and I think he'd be okay with this. He may not have known that there was another applicant to it, I don't know, but he isn't, you're right, he's on the school repair committee already. I think he'd be willing to attend some of the reuse
Well,
committees too.
that's a great point. So what I was gonna say is, Mr. Armstrong had contacted me and said, geez, I was thinking about putting in an application, but I don't know if I can, on a consistent basis, attend the meetings. And I said, you know what, first of all, they're open to the public, so you can come anytime you
Anytime,
want.
sure.
But I said, would welcome your feedback and your expertise, so, if you sort of wanna be like an ad hoc, non-voting member, show up whenever you want, and extend the same invitation to Mr. Garvey, if we end up going in that direction, or to Mrs. Gomes, whomever it is that doesn't get, selected and appointed, we welcome the feedback.
Right.
It's just, you wouldn't be a formal part of the committee, whoever that is.
I mean, that's good that you've got more than enough people coming into it looking for it, so. Okay, so with that, somebody has to put together a motion on who they wish to propose.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jenna Gomes for the McQuon Reuse Committee.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Further discussion? I think your point's well taken, Laura. I think I'm calling you Mara now, see? So the fact that he's on the Water Commission and he's on the other one, and we want to encourage more people to come in. And we do thank both candidates for stepping up and putting in their applications. So, again, thank you to Bill Garvey and Jenna Gomes. All right, let's call the vote. All those in favor of appointing Jenna Gomes, 113 Andrew Lane, to the McQuon Reuse Committee, say aye. Aye. 5-0, right, Kenny?
I'll see you, Bill.
Yes.
Yep. 5-0. And again, thank you to Bill Garvey. Okay, next we have the reappointment, let's just go right to this, right? The reappointment of the Animal Control Officer, Mary Drake, term to expire says 3/31/18, which is the end of this month, right?
That's
that be-
my bad.
That's okay.
That should be 19.
That should be 19.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a one-year renewal, so this is a reappointment of the Animal Control Officer, Mary Drake, term to expire 3/31/2019.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. Mary, I'll let you decide who.
Is
did
her
the second
new
one.
term to expire?
No, this is bad. This is a typo.
She's,
We're reappointing.
that
Should be-
was,
should
I'm
be
sorry,
19.
that
John
should
and I
say
were having a
19.
That's okay,
sidebar,
yeah.
so I
No.
missed that. Sorry about that.
It should say term to
no,
expire
it's
3/31/19.
an annual appointment.
Yeah, it's
All
annual.
right,
So,
okay.
Sorry, you know what? I thought it was expiring this month and you were applying it for annual. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
Right.
But I'm used to seeing the future date out there.
It's just a
No big
typo.
deal, Mary, whatever, you know? Okay,
So moved.
moved and seconded.
we already had a motion and a second. We just,
It has
I'll
been
catch
moved and
up
seconded,
eventually.
but Laura's that eager to get on with it, so, all right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 on the reappointment of the ACO. Next item we have, we're moving back up to new business, and this is the review the proposed warrant articles. So, we have with us, we've got special and annual, right? Come on. There we go. So you should see item 2. I'll tell you what, why don't we just go, Mike, we said we were gonna do just the summary items, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, at this point in time, all I'm looking for is for the Board of Selectmen to agree to place these articles. A lot of them, and can even go back to the conversation that we had at the last meeting Thursday, the wording has not been tidied up yet.
Right,
It's more to place the items, the topics. A lot of the zoning stuff needs to be worked on. Some of the numbers may change in terms of some of the budgeting items. Obviously, as we work with the school committee to try to come up with a balanced budget. So at this point, again, with the exception of 22 on the annual, which you voted to both place and recommend, which I think was the right thing to do. All I'd like to do right now is just do a quick summary of each of the articles on the special and on the annual, get the selectmen's opinion on placing them, and then as we go through up till town meeting, we will then take into consideration the refined articles, look for the board's support at that point, and, as we go through that, we can bring in members of different boards, of different departments to directly address specific articles, so there can be more of an in-depth conversation. Obviously, you can see that we've got 16 articles on the special, and we've got 34 articles on the annual, and it would take us forever to sit down and go through those at one sitting, even if we had them ready right now. So
Mike,
over the course of the next couple of meetings or so, we'll go back and pick away at them as they're ready.
okay, so Mike, would you mind if I just read the department, the article, the department, and the item? And
I'm sorry, say it again?
would you mind if I just read the article, the department, and the item, and we'll read it along to any of the selectmen, and if any of the selectmen choose to stop at one to ask any questions, just shout out.
Sure.
Would that be okay with you
So you're
guys?
just going over the matrix right
Just
now.
going on the matrix, so it's item 2A on your iPads, okay, guys? This is the special one. So anyone you have a question on, just ask to stop and feel free to ask a question, okay? So the first one is Article 1. This is, again, the special town meeting. Article 1, the department is the selectmen, unpaid bills.
That's a regular placekeeper that we put on every town meeting warrant.
Right,
Right now, there aren't any.
okay. Article 2 is also selectmen, it's the supplemental budget.
so we wanna vote to place them on or are you gonna go through them all and just do it as one big vote? It doesn't make any
Vote 'em all at
difference.
once at the
Do
end.
them all at once?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
we could do, almost
We could do that.
like we were at town meeting.
Yeah, like
If
a mini town meeting.
there's a
almost.
hold, if there's a hold,
Yep, say hold,
We can
you keep
address
going,
that
and
at the
then
end.
we'll go back.
That's what I meant when I was
That's
talking.
perfect, that's
That works.
perfect.
That's the way I was going with. So if any-
Beautiful.
So if anybody has anything that they want to stop on, don't hesitate and say, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't, I got a question on this. All right, the next one is Article 2, the Selectmen, the supplemental budget. That amount is for $180,000 free cash.
And there's a graph in the, a chart on the warrant, and we'll show you what that
What the
applies to.
detail is.
That could change slightly, but we know $180,000 has been allotted for that. There will be some transfers from other lines. We'll have a better idea what they are as we get a little bit closer to town meeting.
Okay.
The bulk of I'm guessing probably all of the 180 will be going to snow and ice.
Snow and ice under the highway, yeah.
Yes, because right now, I think we have 280,000 on the actual warrant.
And then followed by legal expense and
Mhm.
technology, okay.
Legal tax, right.
Yep. Okay, so the next item we have is the police chief. We have a dispatch console for $50,000 free cash. We
Can
have,
we discuss that?
so go to item 2 and you look at Article 3 to see if the town will transfer the sum of, the current 2-position radio dispatch console is beginning to fail. The equipment is 11 years old and has reached the end of its service life. This piece of equipment is crucial to the public safety network in town.
I just questioned it in light of our overall discussions of potential regionalization, but if they're saying it's an immediate need and it's gonna compromise safety, then I would say fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like a long-term strategic type of thing when we're looking and exploring other things, none of which have settled, but I just,
Yep, I understand.
Well, and again, this is to place, this isn't to recommend at this point, or support, and I can truly appreciate what you're asking, Laura, but we can bring the police chief in at that point, and you can ask those questions directly to him,
okay, that's fine.
and then you can then make the decision on whether you want to support it or not. Because we're closing the warrant this evening, this is really just an exercise to make sure, all these placeholders, all these articles are
Yeah,
at
out of
least
an abundance of
placed.
caution, I'd say let's just go for that, that's fine, and I'll ask questions later, we can always just have it passed over. or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
Jim?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand what you said. We're going to go through the article. If there's a problem, you yelled hold, and we'll go back at
We
the
could,
end.
or we could
Talk
stop.
about it a little
It's
bit
up to
more.
you, yeah, however you
Okay,
see fit.
either way.
That's what you did say.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm flexible. You can call me Gumby there, brother, okay? Here we go. Number 5, grading, I'm sorry, number 4, we have to go back to. This is police chief, Article 4. This is for new police vests, right? And it is in the amount of $20,000. I believe the old police vests are 5 years old. Article 5 is from the selectmen. This is the grading private roads, $10,000. We do this, I think, every year, Mike, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Article 6 is the COA director. This is the replaced floor, it says. Any questions on that from anybody?
No.
All right, good. Article 7 is historical. This is the Thomas Mill Wheel install, $15,000. I think we talked about that before. We have, the next 2 articles are from the school committee. The first one is Article 8, under the Indian Head and Middle School repairs of $50,000. And then we also have Article 9, which is the reimbursement of the retile for Indian Head of $35,000. They must have done retiling at the Indian Head. And the $50,000 at the middle school, I think it was partly the,
Air.
wasn't it?
Right.
Wasn't
It
it?
was, each item was $25,000 each, so for a total of the.
Oh, 50,
the
total
50,000.
50? Gotcha, okay.
Okay, what they are.
We have the recreation on Article 10. They have plumbing repairs for $25,000. That's coming from retained earnings.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that, explanation, really. It's just to supplement the septic, system.
Okay.
These are additional components that came along with the septic system. It shouldn't just be, although a lot of the money will go towards plumbing, there's some additional work they need to do,
Okay,
so.
Thank you,
change
Mary.
that too.
we have, that was 10, right? Yes.
Right.
Article 11 is the recreation. This is the Wi-Fi at Camp Quaney, I believe, $23,000 from retained earnings. We have the CPC for Article 12. This is the dock replacement. We talked about those
Yep,
too
Camp Warren.
at Camp Quaney, yep. We also have Article 13 from wage and personnel. This is the classification and compensation at no dollar amount at this time.
That's the actual matrix with all the positions on it, like this. We make
Yep.
some changes on it.
You
to the
make
wage and
changes based
personnel
on-
Back in January.
Okay.
This is just cuts the original one out. We put the new one in with the changes in it. That's
And
what
it's
that is.
effective, what, July 1st?
July 1st.
Right,
correct.
okay. The same thing with the Article 14, which is wage and personnel amend, wage and personnel bylaw benefits, correct?
That's the one when we changed the insurance
the
eligibility, the
percentages.
percentage on that.
Okay. The next one is Article 15, I think would be read by Dawn, which is from the water, rescind borrowing, water town rehab, it says.
That's the extra money left over from the initial borrowing. They had $500,000 left, so we have to rescind that, so we aren't, we don't have the $500,000 on the books. And the same is for Article 16 for the Plymouth County Hospital. We'll be giving back the $700,000.
That's
I like
really
that.
good, yeah.
Coming in,
That's
both of those under.
It's weird
It's
though,
not
when
like,
you,
it's not like we're getting it back
No,
or anything.
no.
Just
But
wanna
we're not
make that
spending it.
clear. We're not spending it.
Yeah,
when you look at it in red, it looks
feels
like a
the same
negative.
way.
Yeah.
It is a negative. It's a negative.
I feel like we're getting it back because we aren't spending it, is right, exactly, you know, so, wow, that's $1.2 million, nice job, okay. So I would entertain a motion for each one of the for each one of the 16 articles to place on the May 2018 special town meeting warrant.
So move.
Second.
Made and seconded. Further discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye, 5-0. And again, we will come back to discuss each one of these
we're just placing.
articles, yeah,
We're just
in detail
placing.
later on, yep. Okay, you should see item 2C, which I think is a summary, which is the 34 articles, Mike, right?
Yes.
That we have. I'm gonna do the same thing here,
Yes.
okay? And again, any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me. The first one, Article 1, is from the Board of Selectmen, and this is the Accept the Town Report, which is published every year. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Right? The second article is from the treasurer. This is for compensating balances. There's no dollar amount at this time.
There's no dollar amount anyway. It's just
Because there's-
allows her to, by statute, to borrow money.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, can we hold on the first one?
Yes.
Accept town report? Did you want to circle back afterwards?
No, no,
or- okay.
no, let's do it now.
I'm sure that you probably drafted something. Do you usually pass that by the rest of the board? You know, what we're putting into the annual report?
To represent the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah.
It is basically, it's the chairman writes it up and is submitted, that's the way it's been.
Oh, okay, because
yeah.
when I was on CPC, I used to just pass it by the rest of the, you know, just to see if anybody had anything that I missed, or if I, you know, I didn't know what the protocol was on the Board
Yeah,
of Selectmen.
generally, yeah, that's been the, I usually work with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to put something together.
That's what I did last year, and
Okay.
and I didn't run it by everybody, but I like your idea. We could
Okay.
certainly do that. Mike, we
Okay.
can give them a copy,
I
right?
think do we still have time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can give you guys a copy of
Yeah.
it. That's a good idea. Again, I was just following what I learned from the past, so, and basically what that report is just how we've done, what we've done over the course of the year.
Like accomplishments,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, okay. If you look at the report, the annual report, you'll see what the last one looked like. It's,
Yeah.
okay. All right, next item we have is, I think we said, we already did Article 2, or not, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, crap, hold on. I lost my page.
Article 3, tax title account,
Go ahead.
$20,000. Source overlay.
Right? Any questions? None. Article 4, Board of Selectmen, set elected salaries, this is no amount at this time. Article 5, Board of Selectmen, this is for the budget,
The overall big budget,
big,
yeah.
large budget, right? We go item by item on that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Article 6 is the recreation, this is the budget for the enterprise fund in the amount of $370,469. Article 7 is from the Board of Health. This is the budget for the enterprise fund of $345,016 program revenues. Article 8 is CPC, annual budget of $240,000. Article 9 is capital improvements, the approval of the matrix, the Board of Selectmen review.
Mike, can you just verify that what we're getting for the capital improvement matrix has been brought up to date and refined to reflect current needs?
It is still in work.
Okay.
There's one or two other meetings that the capital improvement committee needs to have.
But that's their intention?
It's in process,
Okay.
yes.
All right, cool.
All right,
Good point, because I think we should definitely see the removal of some of the McQuon School
Yes.
repairs on that, right? Article 10 is capital improvements as well for capital projects in the amount of $575,000 from free cash. Article 11 is the school committee, the high school capital projects in the amount of $198,891. And this is from free cash and R&A, right?
Raise and appropriate.
Yeah. Fire chief on Article 12 is the new fire engine of $600,000 borrowing. Article 13 is the school committee, which is the HVAC at the middle school. Thank you for putting this on. $500,000. I know that the school committee was gonna anyways, but we got advance notice on this email. Article 14 from the selectmen, chapter 90, no amount at this time.
That's just accepting. You do that every year.
Okay. Article 15 is from the conservation, replenish the conservation fund at $5,000, raise and appropriate. Articles 16 and 17 are both from the water. Article 16 is the 2 new trucks at $80,000, water surplus. Article 17 is the storage containers at $18,000, again, water surplus. Article 18 is also water. This is the upgrade to the SCADA of $40,000. Okay, what is SCADA, Donnie?
for those of us not in the know, what is that?
SCADA?
SCADA.
Ada?
SCADA, SCADA.
It's SCADA.
SCADA.
That's the computers that run the meter readings.
Oh,
Okay, gotcha.
And runs the tanks, and it's all electronically controlled.
Okay, cool.
Every water department runs off a SCADA system.
All
Okay,
right, well, now we are informed.
I forget what it stands for.
that's all right. I could look it up. I have it here too. Article 19 is the selectmen, is the fund stabilization. That amount is to be determined,
If there's any money left.
and let's hope there is. Article 20, selectmen, fund school capital stabilization.
Same.
Again, same thing, to be
Yep.
determined. Article 21 is the school committee. This is approve the amended regional agreement that Mr. Hickey had spoken of, right? No dollar value to it. Article 22 is the one we just spoke of tonight, which is South Shore VOTEC. And this is to approve the amended regional agreement. No dollar amount value. Article 23 is selectmen. This is the amending of the quorum bylaw, which right now we're at 100, but the proposal is to set it at 75. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Right?
So sad.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
SCADA,
SCADA.
Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Which is why we'll be calling it SCADA going forward.
You know?
It does not roll off the tongue.
Yep.
Inquiring minds want to know.
You know what, Mary? I would have looked it up after. the meeting.
I just saved
So
it.
you saved me the time, thank you. Article 24 is selectmen, this is the revolving accounts. No dollar value. Selectmen is bulk storage bylaw, this was put forward, and then we think we spoke about it at the last meeting, right, folks? And we expect to see those changes in there, Jim, right? No blank lines, 500 cubic feet and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right?
Yep.
Yards.
Yards,
Because it's
forgive
just a
me.
placeholder.
That's
Yes,
just
sir.
a
That's why we're not the
placeholder.
Yep.
enforcement
Exactly.
officers.
Right. And then
Exactly.
after we hopefully pass it, because if we don't, then we don't need an enforcement, but we anticipate on passing it, let's hope, we are going to assign an enforcement agent for the bulk storage bylaw. Makes sense. Articles 27 through 32 are all planning board. 27 is the planning board zoning bylaw frontage change. We also have Article 28, which is the planning board retail marijuana zoning, as passed and approved by the town. We also have the planning board marijuana sales tax. We have Article 30, the planning board amended cell tower zoning. So we're working on the cell tower location, Mike, right?
Yep, and I need the
But
planning,
in
I need the
order-
planning board's help to change some
To
of
change the zoning
Yep.
place,
Right,
right?
it's just a matter of, it's just one line to the actual zoning article for regarding
change?
municipal location. The town can put it wherever it wants.
Beautiful. I think that's gonna be, a lot of people will be helpful. And then we have Article 31, which is the cell tower height, that's
Which they've changed from 150 to 200.
to 200, okay. And then, it looks like 30 and 31, one is, no, zoning and one is height, forgive me. And then Article 32 is the codification of zoning index for the
This
plan.
is the index for the whole zoning bylaws.
Okay.
All the numbers change, the page numbers change, so they're just kind of cleaning that up. When you look at your warrant draft, it is not in there. She's still working on the verbiage, and as a matter of fact, I think I probably put in there.
You did, in
Put in the
yellow
verbiage.
highlight. Yes, you did, yep.
Waiting on the verbiage.
Yep. And then Article 33 is proposed by the selectmen. This is my personal favorite, the amending of the recall bylaw. Okay? I have asked Mike McHugh to revisit this recall bylaw. I've had conversations with some of the members on this board, individually, of course, and not in open meeting context, violation of any kind, in which I feel that we need to make some changes to make this a more rational bylaw. So, we're basically,
Mr. Chairman, this is not a bylaw of the town.
no, it's,
This would be a special act of the legislature
Yes.
for.
it has to be approved, right,
Yeah.
it has to, it's a
Correct.
proposal, right, that we're making.
It's a proposal, but it's not one of our bylaws. If it was a bylaw that we had created, we could do this. But the current recall that we have
It's
is
under
a
the
statute.
a state
Yeah.
statute, right.
So this one, what the article will say is vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court
To make
to,
Make the
to
changes.
amend
Change.
or change or whatever. I'll be sending this, both these documents will go off to town council tomorrow for their review to tighten up some of the language, because there were several things within the recall. It refers to a charter and refers to specific Mass General Law statutes, which do not apply to Hanson. So town council will have to clean that up.
I appreciate that, thank you, Mary. So it makes sense, and I think we kind of used the recall bylaw from Norwell, is that correct, Mike?
Yeah,
As a
that was
model?
the framework.
So that there is cause. It's clear cause.
Very specific
Yep.
cause.
So you can't just recall somebody from wearing
Right.
blue shirts, or else myself and Jim and Kenny would be gone. Here we go. Article 34 is the town clerk, and this is the election article at $0 value. Which one is this one? Can I just ask a little bit
This
about
just
that?
tells you what positions are up for the election. We vote that article and it lists all the positions that
All
are
the-
gonna be on the ballot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
It's kind of a holdover from years ago where the election would actually take place at town meeting. I mean, we're talking 7,500 years ago, but every town has that final question on its annual warrant.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion. Does anybody have any questions on any of them first?
No, I'm sure we will once we.
Yeah, once we get into the details, there'll be questions coming out. That's fine. All right, so why don't I would entertain a motion to place the articles, as I've read, the 34 articles for the May 2018 annual town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, give it to Jim.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Again, just to place, and I think we have to close it too, is that right?
Both of them, yeah.
Right? I would entertain a motion to close the May special and annual town meeting warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both are closed, the May special and the annual town meeting warrants. Next item on our new business is the declaration of Arbor Day. Mike?
Yeah, I'm just asking the board if they'll make a motion to officially declare April the 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day in the town of Hanson. Simple as that, and it's along the lines of yearly reapplication for the town of Hanson to be a Tree City, USA.
Well, I will make that motion, but are you looking for a specific date for 2018? And is it possible to just set an evergreen date, like say the third Saturday of April every year, so that, I don't know, just.
They're very specific in terms of the
date.
Tree City. They want a board of selectmen or the mayor or whatever in each community each year to
Okay.
actually designate
Okay.
that year as.
Then so moved, I'll move.
It would make life easier, I agree, but that's,
Yeah, if we made it like the
Second.
fourth Thursday, I get you.
We have a second down this end, Dawn. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't hear it, sorry.
No, that makes sense, Mike, they probably just want to make sure
Promo.
that the governing body's actively engaged.
Yeah.
And, on board and supporting it.
So what should the town people be doing on that day, Mike?
Well, as
think
we
it's great.
discussed a bit at the last meeting, Rotary is going to be getting us a modified elm. We're going to be planting it on the Town Hall Common. Green Hanson is going to be helping with that in terms of digging the hole and caring for it. And I'm going to try to put together a little bit more to the event. I would imagine Josh Cutler will attend, hopefully a representative from Selectman Brady's office. In addition to that, I'm reaching out to the people at DRC, the state forester. Typically, I can get somebody to represent the state at this event, and in the past, they've handed out saplings to those in attendance. So I like to make it a little bit of an event.
That's cool, and I remember we planted the tree up at the senior center,
Yep.
remember? That's cool.
It's
Okay,
something Mike's passionate about.
It-
so.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
motion was made and seconded, right, Mary?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is made and carried, accepted. Next item on our agenda is the old business. This is the update on the cell tower RFP. Mike?
Yeah, I had said that I had hoped at the meeting on Thursday to be able to give you some more information about the location that we've kind of jointly identified, department heads and members of committees. And I did have a conversation with a gentleman that I'm working with from Blue Sky Tower. And we all feel that a very advantageous location would be on the grounds of the middle school on Liberty Street. There's an awful lot of land there. It does sit pretty much in the middle of what has been identified as one of the gaps in coverage. The company that I am working with in terms of they're helping me put the RFP together did mention that they're aware that AT&T has been interested in the past in putting something up, or at least jumping on to something if it's put up, so they know that there is an appetite there, which goes an awful long way in somebody wanting to construct one in the first place. So I've reached out to the school department. Obviously, I want to have them involved. It is our property, but I don't want to, again, I don't want to do anything unilaterally. I want everybody to be comfortable with how we move forward on this. I wrote up an RFP. I'm not going to bore the board with it right now. It's very technical. It's actually something I wrote in another town that I worked on over the weekend to tune it up for this particular piece of property. I did share that with the consultant with whom I'm working, who said it was pretty much in line still with what the industry's looking for RFPs. So I'm going to go through some additional conversations with Conservation, who were present. Representative was present when we chose this site to make sure that there's more of an in-depth look. They said there would be probably some things that would need to be done, but there were certainly things that could be done. So I'm hopeful sometime in the spring to be able to put that RFP out and see if, obviously, we can put an RFP out. We can do everything that we possibly can on the town side to make this a site that someone would want to put a cell tower on, or a monopole, or what have you, but somebody still has to bid. So we can go through all this, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, perhaps have nobody put a bid in on, or...
Is it possible to get multiple carriers on that?
Oh, yeah, well, the way it usually works is you have a company come in and they build the tower itself, and then they solicit companies to put their equipment on those towers. So typically, you'll see AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon, or anyone who feels that they need to augment their coverage in this particular area. They'll rent space on the pole from the company that builds it, but within the RFP, we'll have written in not only an amount for the lease of the property, but we will also have in an amount where we get a portion of whatever the rental is for each of the carriers. So again, fortunately, it is something that I had some experience in as well in another community. So I actually have a halfway decent knowledge of how this works.
So Mike, can I ask you, can you give me a ballpark, so I'm a visual person, right? So if I'm driving by down down the middle school and I go past the front and it's in the back on the side, right? There's two
To
tanks.
the west.
To the west?
Yeah.
So that's where it would be?
Yeah,
in
that's
that-
the
in that
general,
vicinity,
yeah, that's the
right?
general vicinity.
Okay.
And I think we're hopeful too that maybe
You know where
that
the
this
two
could
tanks
also be a potential site for solar going
Go past the
forward.
middle school.
So,
Go straight
What
past
about
them
the,
back. There's a parking lot on the side.
well, again, that's something that we'd have to.
Just behind there.
I'm sorry, what did Jim just
Yeah,
ask?
fall zone.
Thank you, Jim, because
Yeah.
I was wondering about that too, because that's one of the reasons why it didn't float at the fire
Yeah.
station, was it was a fall zone and there were safety concerns,
Yep.
health concerns. So I think that's another question, clearly, since we're right near the school.
Oh, certainly.
That we're gonna need to want to address with parents who have got their children there. And then, my other question was, is that coverage going to extend to South Hanson, where we get a lot of complaints that people have dropped calls and?
I can't actually get into technical detail. I believe that these cell towers generally, from what this gentleman is telling me, they'll throw about 2 miles. So I can't say for sure that it will solve the problems in the southern portion of the town.
Hopefully
It
we'll
will,
get to
it will solve the problems that we have in the northern central sort of part of town.
Hopefully,
Take care of my part of town first, then yours.
The reason I say that is that there was a perception by people down in Montponset that, you know, with the outages and stuff during the last outage, that, you know, they're kind of being treated like second-class citizens, and I just don't want this to be perpetuated by us sort of having a perception that we're focusing on one end of the town versus, I know that's not your intention.
Oh, certainly.
But I just, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, we have to find a piece of property that the town owns, number one, and that, you know, isn't gonna meet with a lot of problems, a lot of resistance. I don't believe this piece of property will. Like you said, there's some things we'll need to talk with the schools about. I think all of those are surmountable. But in terms of a location in that section, I'm really not aware of one at this point. I've often said that, whereas it'd be nice for the town to be able to go forward with this and get the revenues, personally, if there was a private company that came in and had some sort of a deal with a private landowner, we would not stand in the way of that as well. I think that the main goal in all of this is to get the coverage, and believe me, I've gotten the calls as recently as yesterday from people, not so much complaining, but asking, gee, what can the town do? And I told them, this is what we're doing, and you know, we can promote and cajole and make it as inviting as possible to you know, a construction company, a vendor to put a pole up, but we just can't do it on our own.
No, I think it's been particularly highlighted in the last
Yes.
storms where all people have had is their cell phone.
yes.
So, you know,
I hope, you know, I know this is just a start, Mike, and I think it's a good idea. You're going in the right direction. We're trying to improve it. I just don't want to see this big, massive, ugly thing sticking up on the middle of the forest, you know, and getting.
Well, they actually, the way they're built now, and the way I envision it would not be, you know, the traditional tower.
Yeah.
It's like a
It'd be
flagpole,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Is it?
It'd be more of a monopole, and they can disguise them at this point so that they almost look like trees.
they
Yeah.
have like tree looking.
We've
Yeah.
talked about that
Yeah.
before.
They put them in church steeples. and
Yeah,
you can
I mean,
never know.
they're very non-offensive, they're very not, they blend in.
Yeah, if they can do one like a tree, I think, Kenny, you'd be happy
There's
with
one
that.
in Pembroke that I'm thinking about that looks just like a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kenny's taken 2 down by mistake.
So, Mike, that's quite an accomplishment, Mike. Thank
So
you.
I'm really happy that, you know,
that's
especially
great.
after speaking with the person in the business who, again, did did a review, and hopefully will be somebody who will put in a proposal when we put the RFP out. But as I said at the last meeting, we had, you know, we came up with this wonderful plan amongst ourselves, but none of us are cell tower experts, and this
Right.
person really felt that it was a very viable location and proposal, so.
I applaud you for going after this and, you know, and trying to get it resolved. It is something we all consistently hear about from
Yep.
people, so.
And of course, this is just the beginning. There'll be open meetings with the public
Oh,
on
sure,
this and
yeah,
so forth,
yeah,
so on,
yep.
right? So, that's terrific. We could have put that into the town admin report, Mike. So did you want to pick up, Mike?
Yeah, I
Continue?
don't, since we met just a few days ago, really don't have that much. I did want to mention that I did have a meeting today, and I may have mentioned this previously, that we're working on improving access and security here at Town Hall. I did have a company come in, the company I was speaking with previously, with a kind of a further refined proposal for improving access here, which would, it would basically center around all the appropriate parties having a fob to wave against a keypad or a pad when they need access. It would be something that we could control. We could not only control the doors just to open at 8 o'clock or quarter of 8 or whenever we want automatically, and then close at 5. But we could also, if let's say on a Monday night when obviously nobody's working, the planning board is going to meet. I can just program, or Mary or whoever we designate can just program the doors to open every Monday night at 6:45 and then close at 9. But we could also have a member of that board or any board have a fob that's also only programmed to open doors at a certain time, so
Yep.
we can have an awful lot of more control over the comings and goings here.
And if they have a fob, it's logged, right? So
Yes.
you know who's
Yeah,
coming
yes.
in.
Are
and-
we just looking at the main entrances, or are we going to do the offices too?
We're
Because it's
actually-
long been a concern of mine that we don't have the kind, in my business, in the financial services industry, we have the need to know. You really only get access to the records you absolutely need to know for a variety of reasons, HIPAA and, privacy and all types of things. And it's long been a concern of mine. I'm not saying that anything has happened, but that it's a recipe for disaster, that if you got the wrong person getting access to one of these offices, they could wreak havoc.
Well, as it stands right now, as a matter of fact, they are pricing out doing 2 of the offices on the second floor. The treasurer collector's office, where all the money is, and the town clerk's office. Now, as far as the town clerk's office goes, that would be a joint decision between ourselves and the separately elected town clerk.
Yeah.
However, as far as the treasurer collector's office, where all the financial records and money is stored, that's sort of a no-brainer. So the intention is not only to do this downstairs door and the far door all the way down to the far end, I guess we would call it, the east end?
Assessors.
Access.
Yeah, down towards the assessors, but also some internal offices. And one of the things we will need to discuss a bit as we move forward on this is there may need to be some changes, some physical changes to this door right here. And obviously, there are aesthetic concerns, or I think we need to at least talk about anything that might be aesthetically changing. I don't envision it. I would think that, I know that any physical change we would make would be in keeping with the style of the building.
Sure.
But I know that the town of Hanson has put an awful lot of money and an awful lot of heart into this extension, so I don't want to just arbitrarily say, yeah, throw in the metal door. I want to have a discussion, a little bit of a further open discussion about what the changes might be there, the physical changes. So, again, we're still a little ways away from implementing the overall project, but we're getting close. So I wanted to let the board know that, and again, if there's going to be any significant physical changes, we'll talk those out.
Now, are you going to give some consideration so that we don't have to call dear Mr. Brian Clemens at home when the unfortunate incidents happens, when somebody has not told somebody they had a meeting, or it's not, would somebody be designated remotely to be able to, or a couple of people, so it will be you?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll come up with some backup people, but
Some sort of
one of the beauties of this is, I could be on Mars and just get on the computer, and the chairman of X, Y, and Z committee calls up and says, oh, we forgot, or it's not open, and again, I'd make sure at least one person on each committee, each standing committee, had a fob.
Yep.
Most likely the chairman, or if they have a reporting secretary, so that worst case scenario, I'm in there and I'm configuring it, and I'm either just opening the building for them,
Yeah.
or I'm configuring their fob to open it up.
Yeah.
So, and that can be done at any time, and hopefully 99 times out of 100, what we'll see is all that stuff will all be programmed in, because, through the town clerk's office, we'll be aware of all the upcoming meetings, and we just schedule, program them in. But we'll have the fail-safe for that.
Plus, you don't have the problem like, we all have keys to get in and out of the building, right? And we turn them in theoretically.
Right,
Well,
but
and-
they
But
could have
nobody's
been
making
duplicated
copies,
or-
duplicated.
It
right,
actually,
so It addresses that.
that's one of the main drivers. Now, in almost every community in which I've come into, I've had to change the locks and change the keys, and, have them stamped and have them issued and
Yep.
have the nice log. But you know what?
You don't
After
need
a
this
few years,
anymore.
eventually, all good intentions kind of, you lose track.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where those keys are going. This person has quit, this person has resigned, and every couple of years, you're spending the money to rekey everything. This way, somebody leaves our employment, somebody leaves a board,
Disengage.
even
that
if they
from
don't come back with the fob, it's useless.
Yeah.
Johnny?
Yeah, I don't know if I missed it or if it's not on there, but was there any mention of getting a generator for the town hall here?
That's under the capital improvement article.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't see it, I was
Great
looking.
question, Don.
Mike, what about the tax title
Huh?
properties?
I know it should be.
Tax title properties?
What, in
The
terms
auction.
of? Oh, yeah,
are they-
yeah, I'm still waiting back for the report back from all the different committees and departments as to whether or not they want to hold any, they don't want us to auction off any particular property.
Conservation
So
might
that's
have
still-
something.
Yeah, conservation usually is the
Okay.
one that wants to hold something
Right.
here and there, but,
Okay.
yeah, that's still, we're looking at potentially doing an auction late spring, early summer still. All depending on all the legal stuff that needs to go on, so.
What
Yeah,
else?
that's still on track.
Great.
Did you have anything else, Mike?
No, other than the fact that we're going to have our weekly March storm, and that, I sat with the appropriate departments this morning and basically had the same meeting we've had, 3 or 4 times already. They're doing an unbelievable job. The cooperation between all departments, especially to include the water department, which maybe wasn't so much in the past. Everybody's working together unbelievably, and
They've had enough practice,
each
huh?
of the departments at this meeting that I had this morning also sang the praises of each of their, compatriot departments. So, as best as we can handle it, as best as, I shouldn't say we, I should say they can handle it, they're handling it, and I think that every member of this board can attest to that. So I expect there to be the same response, come the midday tomorrow into Thursday. I'm speaking with other town managers, town administrators in the area in terms of, how we all think that, the operation of our town hall should go during the course of the event. So, we'll make that sort of determination, and I'll convey it to the board. The chairman and I talk through these things when we make these decisions, but I think that we will open tomorrow. I think at worst, maybe it'll be an early release, but that's still to be determined.
One thing I've noticed that they've been doing, and I've noticed it's increased over the month of March, unfortunately, we've had, a lot of practice, is they're doing a lot of great social media posts.
Yes.
Just reminding people, call National Grid if you're out of, which seems like self-evident, but apparently it isn't. That type of thing, and I really applaud them, because on top of doing the day-to-day stuff, they're keeping up the communication.
Well, in all honesty, I think that was born out of a conversation that was initiated by you way back when the first storm on which you were sitting this board, and we listened, and we've tried
Monday,
to.
October 30th.
Yeah. We've tried to, address that sort of concern, and I think that, between the emergency department heads and Mary, when we're not in operation here, she's at home making those changes online to the website, and so we're doing the best we can.
Shows.
Again, we've
Yeah.
taken into consideration, tried to augment the outreach.
The important thing too, Mike, is Whitman Hanson Regional School sent out a message saying that tomorrow will be an early release
Yeah.
day. Great,
Yeah, that seems to
Pre-K
be,
through 12.
that seems to be kind of where everybody's trending.
Most of the schools are doing
So-
When did that go out, Jim?
They went out around 4 o'clock this
Yeah.
afternoon.
But we won't make that sort of, we'll wait a little bit longer to make that sort of determination, but it's probably the direction in which we'll go. And then Thursday will be whatever Thursday is, we'll play that by ear.
That's good, that makes sense. Hopefully it's not as bad.
The only other thing I thought I would mention, and I'm not sure if it's going to stand because of what we just discussed, my intentions are to go to a meeting tomorrow and a meeting on
Friday.
Thursday. And, well, we're going to that thing on Friday. But my intentions were to go to an MMPA, which is the Massachusetts Municipal
Personnel.
Personnel Association.
Personality?
Yeah, personality. I'm going to work on my personality. In Sturbridge, which is training on investigating harassment claims. Actually, there's going to be less snow out in Sturbridge than there is here. But the bigger concern I have is on Thursday, the MMMA, which is the Massachusetts Municipal Managers, I knew this one, Association, they're having a meeting at Fort Devens, or the former Fort Devens, to do some training on performance evaluations and some risk management stuff. That one is probably more iffy, so, and then as the chairman just alluded, on Friday, we're going to go to Everett, of all places.
Winthrop.
Oh, all right, Winthrop. I'd actually rather go to. Yeah, well, actually, Winthrop's a little nicer. We're going to go to the ceremony for the Complete Streets, the awarding of the money, and as I think Laura mentioned, the check.
Big
that's,
check.
Moderate-sized
That,
check. It's a
that,
photo op, guys.
that I was warned are negotiable, like I said
Anytime
at the last meeting.
anytime they're gonna
so-
hand a $400,000 check out,
Yeah.
we'll be there, I promise.
So we'll be representing the town at that particular event. Happy to be there to receive those funds.
Is
And-
Laurie going? Did we tell her?
she's aware of it. She actually sent me an email
away on
about it
vacation.
today.
Yeah, she's in Jamaica.
Is
She's
she? I don't
So
blame
she,
her.
She'll be
well,
thinking
she's in
fondly
Jamaica.
while drinking an
She's
umbrella.
watching her emails.
Well,
but
she has a good excuse.
She
so.
sent me an email, actually a copy of the invitation that we got.
Yeah.
She sent me a copy of that today, so she's watching it.
She'll be toasting
A
you.
big shout out to her for that, because she put in.
Did she say, hey, Mom? Did she send it to you?
Amon, yeah, red stripe.
Nice job. Thank you, Mike.
So that's all I have. It's somewhat abbreviated, like I said.
Okay, we'll move on to the committee reports. We're the 200th anniversary committee.
Well,
Laura?
Josh gave us an update. We haven't met since then. We're meeting next Thursday, the 29th, and I will report back what we discussed.
Discuss, cool. The Mont Ponce Pond Committee.
No meeting.
Okay, Donnie, thank you. How about the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee?
Well, we got a meeting scheduled for 4 o'clock tomorrow,
I heard you saved us $13,000, is that right?
I guess.
How did we save $13,000? Can anybody tell me?
Ask God.
From the antenna.
The antenna fell down.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, come on,
How
man.
did you
That was
forget
all-
about the antenna? I
That
don't
was
believe that.
automatic.
God took the antenna down.
Somebody
for us,
broke
so.
the cable upstairs, and it fell down. It left
Divine-
40
divine
feet standard.
intervention.
There was
and I
more than
ended-
one cable holding
You mean
that.
the second
There
floor?
was only one, I think.
How would
No, there was
Kenny?
more.
That's cool.
Well, I know, but the one that was holding it broke.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's terrific. So because it fell and collapsed on itself during one of the storms.
It saved $13,000.
This is not a poster child for how we want to do things, like, to get it to the point where they break
That's right,
down
I
and
know.
fall. No,
I know,
that's
but-
not.
Well, you know. All right, thank you very much, Tony. So we have the McQuon School Reuse Committee, Mr. Hickey.
No.
I'm sorry, Laura.
It's
Laura
okay.
Kevin. I'm thinking repair. I'm
I've gotten
looking.
confused myself about it. Now with
I'm
the,
thinking Thursday.
Yes,
this next Thursday?
Yeah.
for that committee.
Okay, but I've got the 200th anniversary committee, that's.
What you
in-
just said, and I.
But if you did it a little earlier, we could do
Okay,
it.
what are you at 7 for that?
Yeah,
Well, I think we were meeting around 6 or
okay,
so.
all right, yep.
All right.
So now that we've got the full committee, we're going to get together
That'd be
one more
good.
time with Failing and meet.
If we can just sell it in time to finance some of the stuff we have.
Yes,
on the-
duly noted, sir. You have mentioned this several times to me. I do feel
No
the
pressure, Laura. Yeah,
Yes.
right. The Hanson School Repair Committee, Mr. Hickey.
We are meeting on the 29th last week. I had put out tentatively for this week, but talking to Mike and Mary with the weather and everything, we are going to have a meeting on Thursday, March 29th, though.
It's all happening March 29th.
It is,
Just-
Yeah.
at 7
That's it.
PM,
Yes,
right here, right?
yes.
There you
Okay.
go.
Thank you, Jim. The Highway Building Committee, Mr. Mitchell.
Nothing to report. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Although I would like to say, in terms of that committee, and Ken and I need to speak about this fairly soon, we did want to put an RFP out in terms of the design, so I think we should start looking at how to go about doing that.
Okay.
So I know that we're probably not looking at doing anything till October, but we should,
I can come see you first of the week, because it sounds like you're busy this week.
yeah. One way or the other, I'm busy, so yeah, we can talk about how to move forward on that, I think
Okay.
sooner than later at this point.
So are we thinking on this one, that October town meeting, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Hopefully
That's
we
the
can get
goal?
it conveyed.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the goal.
So
Yeah.
that's the goal.
it's really.
That's terrific.
I know it's not,
it's
well
been-
beyond your
been over
control, but
3
it's
years.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, wow.
I'm over 3
It's
years.
all right. It'll happen. So with that, we will move to executive session. And when we adjourn out of executive session, we will move to the adjournment of our regular meeting session. So I would like to read and entertain a motion for executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town administrator.
So moved.
I need seconded?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Don moved it.
Yes.
Kenny
Kenny
seconded.
seconded.
So we'll call a roll call vote, and I think you've already voted. Is that right, Mr.
Yes,
Howard?
I did, yes.
Yes.
Yes?
I'm in favor. Yes.
Yes, we have 5. We are now in executive session. We want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you, Matt. Carol, thank you very much.
Good night.
Have a great night, folks.